another day in Bronie's world. And at Bronie's desk today, we have one of my favourite people in the world, Pharmacist Ben, all the way from Colorado.
Colorado.
In the Rocky Mountains. There's a song about that.
That's true. You want to sing it?
No.
You want me to sing it?
It's
Colorado, Rocky Mountain High. I've seen it rain and fire in the sky.
Good on you, Ben.
You can listen in to God. Casual reply. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Isn't that a great song?
Yeah. Yeah, you sound like John Denver. John Denver.
I sound exactly like John Denver.
He was one of my favorite singers growing up.
Yes, absolutely.
It was tragic, his death, but anyway. Now that we've been entertained.
Yes, ma'am. In
a different way, because Ben's always entertaining. Now, I've asked Ben to, now let me see if I can get this right. Last week I had a few people ask me if you could speak on the sympathetic thingy.
Sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system.
And there's a third one. The
enteric nervous system.
Anyway, apparently they're all joined together. They're all.
Look, it's cute. It's nice. I like talking about it, but it's not really, it's not going to answer anybody's questions about their health. Nonetheless, it's interesting. The nervous system is the part of the body that turns the outside world into the inside world. That's what the nervous system does. When you think about it, the sights, the sounds, the tastes, the touches, and the what's the one I'm missing? Sights, sounds, tastes, touches, and smells. Right? Yep. What do we call those? The senses. Yep. Right? The senses are the satellites to the outside world. So let's just take the eyes, because that's the most prominent of our senses, is our vision. So let's just take the eyes. The eyes perceive the world. And by the way, in terms of our what we're perceiving, there's no Bronie. There's no computer. There's no colors. There's no hands. There's no light. None of that stuff. That's all organized in the brain. The eyes don't see that. All the eyes see is light. And I don't even see. They just receive light. So all that we're receiving is light. Our whole world is structured in the brain. Bronie, you're in my brain. I've constructed you out of light that hits my eyes. The eyes only see light. The senses.
Well, I hope you constructed me very beautifully.
I constructed you as a gorgeous woman. Absolutely. In fact, I've constructed you as a 21-year-old.
Oh, there you go. Even better still.
There you go.
Love you.
We can construct things any way we want. We don't realize how much power we have over our world, over our reality. We think it's just given to us, but in reality, it's constructed. What's given to us is nothing but light, electromagnetic energy, waveforms. Same with touch and sound and smell and all the other senses. We don't see, smell, hear, touch, taste the world. We see, hear, smell, touch, and taste electromagnetic energy, and then that electromagnetic energy is decoded, if you will, and then constructed in the brain to create our world. This is a very important point because it means that we have control over our world because we're actually constructing it. The problem is we're constructing usually based on subconscious, that is, elements that we're not aware of, usually from our childhood, usually from past programming. And this is why we don't have everything we think we want. We may want a nice house, nice car, a nice relationship, a lot of money, but if we don't have it, it's because our subconscious is making the decisions, not our conscious. We only want things from our conscious mind because we only know our conscious mind. Our subconscious mind may say, you're an idiot, you're a loser, you're broke, you're poor, you're sick, you're all these things, and that's what ends up showing up. So this is not a minor point, this idea that all the world is electromagnetic energy, and then it's constructed as whatever we see. Follow me here. Yeah. So this is a very powerful idea. Now, nonetheless, back to our story, the outside world is turned into the inside world via what we call the nervous system. However, what we don't recognize is that there's two aspects of this nervous system. And by the way, I should backtrack real quickly. You have a nervous system that's said to be central, and that's your brain and your spinal cord. And then you have a nervous system that's said to be peripheral. It covers all the organs. It covers the periphery, the outsides. The central nervous system is this brain spinal cord unit. And then you have the peripheral nervous system that controls everything else. The peripheral nervous system is divided into a voluntary nervous system, which is where you say, I'm going to move my arms, I'm going to move my legs, and an involuntary nervous system. The involuntary nervous system controls all the organs. So what we're going to stick with is the involuntary nervous system, which is technically called the autonomic nervous system. It's involuntary as opposed to voluntary. And that's what controls all of our organs. So the involuntary nervous system, also known as the autonomic nervous system, is the part of the world that turns the visions into our heart rate, or into our breathing patterns, or into our digestive function, or into our immune system. These are all functions of the body that we don't have voluntary control of. So you see a wild animal, your heart rate automatically goes up. And the blood is shunted to your legs so you can run. It's a good thing, right? You don't have to think about it. You don't have to go, oh, should I run? Oh, should I raise my heart rate? No, it's automatic. But this automatic nervous system, or autonomic nervous system, has two major aspects. One aspect of the autonomic nervous system controls responses to danger. The second part of the autonomic nervous system controls responses to safety. Where do you suppose you want to spend most of your time?
In safety.
Safety. The safety nervous system regulates all the good stuff. The danger nervous system regulates all the emergency stuff. One of the big problems we have in our culture today, ironically, is many of us are living in a state of emergency, despite the fact we've created the most comfortable society in the history of mankind. We don't have any problems compared to our caveman ancestors, or even compared to our medieval ancestors, or even compared to our Victorian ancestors, for that matter. You catch a cold, you'd be dead. In the 1800s, 50% of babies didn't make it to 2 years old. In the Middle Ages, the average lifespan was 22, 23 years old. People had to get married when they were 10 or 11 years old and have babies when they were 12 because they didn't make it to 20. They were lucky to make it to 20. By the time they were 20, they were old people. So we have a very, very, very comfortable life. But ironically, despite the tremendous creature comforts, physical comforts we created, many of us are living in this emergency mode, in this emergency nervous system mode of functioning. The emergency nervous system, as important as it is, regulates things like acts on the body to raise the heart rate, to shut down the digestive system, to suppress the immune system, to take blood and reroute it from the front of your brain, where you make creative decisions and good decisions and imaginative decisions, to the back of your brain, where you get angry or you run, fight or flight. It's called the lizard brain. The emergency nervous system takes blood from the outside of the body, from the skin, and reroutes it to the center of the body, to the muscles, so you can run. The emergency nervous system is very important for getting your butt out of bed in the morning, for getting you to be able to run away from an emergency, a saber-toothed tiger. It's very important. But you only want to be in there for very short periods of time, and under conditions that we evolved with, you would only be in the sympathetic nerve. It's called the sympathetic nervous system, by the way, the emergency nervous system. You'd only be in this functioning, this emergency nervous system, very rarely. And you wouldn't stay in that place. You would you have your emergency, and the emergency would be over, and you'd either be dead, in which case you don't have to worry about anything, or you would get through the emergency and you'd be fine. That's where that book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, comes from. We talked about that in the past. Did we talk about that? I think we talked about it. Why zebras don't get ulcers. Ulcers are a manifestation of the stress response, the emergency response, the fight or flight response, the sympathetic nervous system response. And zebras don't have an opportunity to get ulcers. They either get killed by the lion or they survive. But they don't stay in this mid spot like we human beings, where you have this stress that never resolves. You have this emergency that never resolves. It's called the long emergency. We have an emergency, many of us, in fact, arguably most of us, are going through our lives in this long emergency state. Thoreau, I don't know if you heard of Henry David Thoreau. He's a famous writer, a famous romantic poet and author in the United States in the 1800s. He said, most men live lives of quiet desperation. He said this in the 19th century. Yeah. Right? He said this 200 years ago, right? It's still true today.
And it's still true today, if not more.
It's still true today. It's still true today. That what he meant was we live our lives in sympathetic, in the sympathetic nervous system, but it's low level. It's quiet. It's drip, drip, drip. You don't know it. You don't notice it.
Mm.
The parasympathetic nervous system is the other nervous system, the safety nervous system. The safety nervous system regulates all the good stuff. The safety nervous system is exemplified by the vagus nerve. Safety nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system. And anything you can do to stay in the parasympathetic nervous system is going to extend your life. It's going to make you look better. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to make you better able to fight diseases. When you have you're in emergency mode, your body doesn't care about infections. Your body doesn't care about mosquitoes. Your body doesn't care about viruses. Your body doesn't care about getting sick because it's worried about staying alive. It's got way bigger fish to fry. And that's why the immune system is suppressed by the sympathetic nervous system. So the vagus nerve exemplifies, it represents the parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system, and activating that vagus nerve and activating the parasympathetic nervous system is the key to longevity. As the more time you can spend in the rest and digest nervous system, the healthier you're going to be. And a very compelling case can be made for the fact that our horrific biblical epidemic of chronic degenerative disease can be laid right at the feet of overactivation or hyperactivation of the sympathetic nervous system. So learning to activate the relaxation response, the rest and digest nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system is critical for anti-aging, for recovery, for growth, for repair, for fighting diseases or fighting illnesses and infections and all the good stuff, not to mention fertility and creativity and sexuality and digestion and thyroid function and bowel movements, and all the good stuff is controlled by the parasympathetic nervous system, and strategies that you can use to activate the vagus nerve or improve vagal tone the vagus nerve. I have no sound and have a question. Oh, okay. I thought you meant I. Okay. Learning to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is critical, and there's lots of ways to do it. We can talk about that in a second. Does that make sense? That distinction between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, there's a third component of the peripheral nervous system that's called the enteric nervous system. And this is the nervous system that regulates the intestine and the digestive process. And this nervous system is sometimes called the second brain because it's independent from the brain. Yet it has neurons in it. It has nerve cells, brain cells essentially in it. In fact, there's as many brain cells in this nervous system, in the enteric nervous system, as there are in a small animal's brain. There's, hundreds of times more in our brain than there are in the enteric nervous system. But the enteric nervous system has the equivalent neuronal function or brain power of like a rodent, maybe a rat or squirrel.
Oh.
It's like an animal. It's got its own independent neurology. It does its own business. It's independent of the brain. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is amazing. This is enormous. You have an entity that has its own brain inside your body. Do you get what I'm saying here? This is a powerful idea. The enteric nervous system is independent of the brain, and the job of the enteric nervous system is to a lot of jobs, but one of its jobs is to propel food through the digestive tract. It also controls gastric acid, the secretion of acids, gastric acids, affects controls blood flow, controls hormones of satiety, brain hormones that are made, serotonin, for example, dopamine. These are made in the enteric nervous system. And perhaps most importantly, or arguably most importantly, it also has plays a major role in communication with the immune system in the gut. Remember, the intestine is the headquarters of the immune system. The enteric nervous system is interacting with that immune system. And this is one of the reasons why leaky gut is such a problem. Once toxicity gets into the bloodstream, it throws off the enteric nervous system's ability to communicate. You essentially have a brain in your digestive system. So that's the third part of this peripheral nervous system, the enteric nervous system. Now, the enteric nervous system is important for sure, but it's really about the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system when we talk about our health. There's no health challenges that are chronic and degenerative that are not the end result or do not at least involve chronic activation of the stress response of the sympathetic nervous system. And that's why learning to activate the parasympathetic nervous system and strengthen or improve vagal tone, the tonicity, the tightness or the functionality of the vagus nerve is critical for anybody who's interested in getting better or staying healthy or simply living a long life. And there's lots of ways to do it. We've talked about this before. I consider the parasympathetic nervous system, the safety nervous system, to be opposed to the sympathetic nervous system, the stress nervous system, the way the Christ force is compared to the evil force, or the satanic force, right? What do you say? What is going on here? The Christ force is the force of love. The satanic force is the lie, the force of fear. The two primal emotions are fear and love, and they are represented in the body by the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Fear and love. Fear being false evidence appearing real. What is Satan? The father of lies.
Yes.
He's the liar, the adversary, right? So you've got the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fear nervous system, the lie nervous system, the satanic nervous system. And I want to get this idea that it's really bad. You need the sympathetic nervous system. And in a way, you need Satan too. You need this idea. That's why he's here. He's the adversary. He is there so that we can go to the parasympathetic nervous system. We can go to the safety nervous system. And even Christ says, you have to be saved. But he really could have said, you have to be safe. You have to be parasympathetic. So the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system are representative of the two primal forces in the world, fear and love. Not that the sympathetic nervous system is part of the body, so it's very functional, just like Satan is part of the world, and he's actually God's angel, God's favorite angel. So it's not like I don't want to imply that the sympathetic nervous system is evil. It's not. It's very functional and very important, but you want to spend as much time as you can in the safety nervous system. And there's lots of ways to do it, but the fastest way to do it is to make sure you're practicing slow, deep, rhythmic breathing. As soon as you stop breathing, or at least nobody stops breathing, you're dead if you stop breathing, but as soon as your breathing slows down, the body senses danger, senses emergency. That's the primal danger, the primal emergency. And this primal danger, primal emergency caused by what's called hypoxia, low levels of blood oxygen, can be due to simply poor breathing techniques, but it can also be due to inflammation. This is one of the things that inflammation does, is it keeps tissue from getting oxygenated. When tissue is not oxygenated, eventually it will die, but before it dies, it kicks off an emergency response. And if you want to feel what an emergency response is like, try holding your breath. If you hold your breath for 5 seconds, you're probably okay. But if you hold your breath for 10 seconds or 15 seconds or 20 seconds, eventually there's going to be a little voice in your head that says, you better breathe.
Yes.
But if you don't, you like force yourself to keep your breath, to hold your breath, you'll start to get red. You'll start to shake. You're going to feel very uncomfortable. In fact, anybody out there gets
red just sometimes with some of the things you say, Ben.
Oh yeah, sometimes, yes. Okay, but that's a little different. It's a little different type of redness. So if you know anybody who gets a panic attack, if you've ever heard of panic attacks, sometimes people get panic attacks. Right before they get a panic attack, anybody out there who gets panic attacks, you can verify this or validate it. You're not breathing. You've held your breath. This is what initiates a panic attack, but we hold our breath unconsciously. We don't know we're holding our breath. But anybody out there who gets panic attacks, see if you can notice that you're not breathing right before you get the panic attack. Not breathing, holding your breath, is the end result of stressors. And you can experience this yourself right now as I'm talking to you. If you think about something that you don't like or don't want or something you're stressed out about, you'll notice you're holding your breath. Do it right now, Bronie. Think about something unpleasant. Do you notice that you have a tendency to hold your breath right when you think about it?
Yes,
you're doing it right now. I do. I'm watching you. Yes. Imagine if you didn't know that. I like
thinking about not nice things.
What's that? I know, but man, we all do. You know, our brain has negative bias. We're the descendants of people who worried. We're the descendants of people who had anxiety. They survived because they worried. They survived because they had anxiety. That's our ancestors. So we have this pedigree, this DNA of worrying about everything. We have a pedigree, a DNA that leads us to what's called a negative bias. We always think the worst. We always look for the worst because that's how our ancestors survived, and they passed on that genetic tendency to us. So we all have this built-in tendency to worry, to have anxiety, to catastrophize, to see the worst things that are possible. And when we think about potential catastrophes, when we worry, we have anxiety, we're holding our breath. And by the way, insomnia is a classic example of this fear response. And insomnia in this country is an epidemic, probably in your country as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
My husband and I were just
insomnia, you
talking
can
about
rest
that.
assured, is the end result of an activated sympathetic nervous system. Sometimes you'll wake up in the middle of the night. You can't go back to sleep. That also is the manifestation of a sympathetic nervous system, a fear response. Usually because you thought of something subconsciously, you had a nightmare. All kinds of things can happen while you're sleeping, and you wake up in the middle of the night. You can't go back to sleep because your sympathetic nervous system is activated, and it thinks a lion is about to eat you. It's not going to let you fall asleep. So learning to spend time in the parasympathetic nervous system is critically important. Breathing is one of the best ways to do it, but there's lots of ways to do it. Thinking good thoughts will put you in the parasympathetic nervous system. Gratitude puts you into parasympathetic nervous system functioning. That's why you say grace before meals. When you say grace before meals, you activate the digestive response. On the other hand, if you eat your meals while you're watching the news or arguing with your spouse, you're activating the stress response. You suppress digestive functioning. Remember, the sympathetic nervous system suppresses digestion. Why would the sympathetic nervous system suppress digestion? Because when you're running from a saber-toothed tiger, you're not supposed to stop and eat lunch.
No, exactly.
Right?
No. So
Right?
that would
And when you're
really
running
upset your system if you're
exactly. And you know what else? The sympathetic nervous system will cause you to be constipated. Because again, when you're running from a saber-toothed tiger, the last thing you want to do is sit, say, excuse me, I got to go to the bathroom real quick. I got to go, hang on there a second. No. So from a functional standpoint, your bowels stop functioning. And this is another reason why we have a chronic constipation epidemic in this country and probably in yours. And by the way, one of the worst things you can do, let me rephrase this. The sympathetic nervous system is activated. I just said earlier how slow, deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system. I wasn't exactly accurate. So let me go back a little bit. The breathing process is made up of two steps, inhalation and exhalation, right?
Yes.
When you inhale, you activate the stress response. Think about it. Go like this. You're scared. You go, right? That activates the stress response. When you're stressed out, you go, and then you find out it's all a big joke. You go, The exhale activates the parasympathetic response, the relaxation response. And in fact, you can activate the parasympathetic response just by going like this. Which people do intuitively. They go, when they're stressed out. That activates the parasympathetic nervous system. One of the worst things you could do when you're trying to have a bowel movement is go like this.
So we all do it.
Which is what everybody does. That's the worst thing you could do. That shuts everything off. What you want to do is, not,
We all
right?
have to practice that.
Practice it. Practice is a big problem. Nobody tells us this. You want to open everything up, and the way you open everything up is by relaxing with a Another, by the way, great way to activate the relaxation response or the parasympathetic nervous system response is, this also works if you're constipated too, by the way, is to tell the body it's safe by reminding it of the last time it was safe. Really safe. Which was when? When was the last time your body was really safe? Safe it's ever been.
When you're in your mother's womb.
Your mother's womb, exactly. So when you immerse yourself in warm water, you're communicating to the body that it's back in the womb. Warm water, a warm bath tells the body you're back in the womb, and everything relaxes. So if you're constipated chronically, one of the best things you could do is take a warm shower or a warm bath. That'll open everything up.
I absolutely agree.
Opens everything up. You're hacking into your nervous system functioning. In fact, if you really get into a pinch where you're really under duress, God forbid, I know, the horrible things that could happen in this world, I don't even want to think about some of them, but if you really get into a pinch, you know what you'll end up doing unconsciously. You'll just do this automatically. Your body will do it. You won't even do it. Your body will do it. Your body will go into a fetal position. When you go into a fetal position, your body thinks it's back in the womb. It remembers the womb based on that positioning, and you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And I don't know if you ever experienced this, but sometimes if you're really sick and you're really in pain, you'll automatically curl up. Has that ever happened to you? Right? Yes. You automatically curl up. This is the wisdom of the body. It knows to do that. It understands that when it's curled up, everything calms down. You can do it today. You can do it just to do it, just for an exercise for strengthening vagal tone, for strengthening the vagus nerve. Is just doing a fetal position or immersing yourself in warm water, warm bath, warm shower, even warm water in your face will do it. Slow, deep breathing can do it. There's lots and lots of different ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the vagus nerve. One of my favorite ways is to contact the vagus nerve with your tongue.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's interesting.
Okay?
How to do that?
See, the vagus nerve is a very there's a place where the vagus nerve meets the skin right in the top of your mouth, where the hard palate in the front. See, if you touch your tongue, touch the tongue to your roof of your mouth, you'll feel something hard in the front. That's called your hard palate. And then you go in the back, you feel softer. That's your soft palate, right?
Yeah.
You feel how it's softer in the back and harder in the front. Right where the hard palate turns into the soft palate, you have a window where you can touch the vagus nerve. And just by touching that area with your tongue, you will activate the vagus nerve. In fact, if you just hum, you'll activate the vagus nerve by going, you can feel vibrating the vagus nerve at the top of your tongue. And this is one of the reasons why yogis and ancient people would go, Om. When you do that sound, you vibrate the vagus nerve and you activate the relaxation response. You become more spiritual, you're calmer. Activating the vagus nerve, by the way, or the parasympathetic nervous system, is where you connect with God. That's why in the Bible it says, be still and know that I am God. The parasympathetic nervous system calms everything down. This is what being still is about. The parasympathetic nervous system, it says your God nervous system or your Christ nervous system, your love nervous system.
One of my favorite verses.
One of mine too. Absolutely. One of my favorite verses.
Especially when life's really getting out of control.
Be still.
Especially the last crazy part.
That's right. That's right. The profane world doesn't want you. The secular world doesn't want you to be still. No. That's why wherever you go, there's action. There's lights going on and off. There's horns honking. There's sirens blaring. I used to live in downtown Denver. Almost every 5 minutes, there was a siren going on. You think the whole city was burning down. They bring out the fire trucks just to get a cat out of a tree. There's emergency. We're signaled with emergency messaging, at least in this country, everywhere we go. So there's almost like a conspiracy to keep us in sympathetic activation, which means we have to be very, very proactive. We have to be very, very volitional. We have to choose to go into the safety mode because the world is set up so that we're always sympathetic. You think when you watch the news, they want you parasympathetic? No. When you're functioning parasympathetically, you're not buying deodorant. When you're functioning parasympathetically, you're not looking for new restaurants to go to. You're not buying a new car. You're happy. You're satisfied when you're functioning parasympathetically. The economy can't function if we're parasympathetic. If we're chronically parasympathetic, the economy depends on us being freaked out, depends on us being unsatisfied or dissatisfied, depends on us being unhappy, depends on us hating our neighbors. This is the kind of world we've created. If we function parasympathetically all the time, we couldn't have an economy.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? True. So one of the fastest ways to, and this is why what we're doing is so important, one of the most important things you could do to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is to make sure the body has plenty of resources. Caloric resources, which it already has plenty of, but also micronutrients. Under conditions of micronutrient abundance, the body feels comfortable producing things. It feels safe. And this is why micronutrients are good for the body above and beyond the individual roles that the micronutrients play, just by giving the body the raw materials, the resources, so that it knows, it senses that it can do whatever it needs to do. So just getting on a nutritional supplement program, independent of taking your essential fatty acids for your skin or your de-stress for your adrenal glands or your zero fem for your feminine issues, whatever, just putting the raw materials into the body alone tells the body it has enough resources to do what it needs to do. And this is one of the major reasons why a nutritional supplement program is so important for everybody, because these nutrients aren't coming in from food. They're coming in unfortunately, they've been depleted out of the soils and out of processing and storage and cooking and all the things we do to our foods. So most of us, unless we're present company excluded, are running deficient in micronutrients, and the body is feeling like it can't do what it needs to do. And this activates the stress response. Giving the body the raw materials in abundance tells the body it's safe. It's part of the safety element. And then activating the parasympathetic nervous system. If you're looking for different ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, one of the best ways is to relax the body, starting with your toes. That's why, remember, we did that little experiment.
Yeah, we did that, and you nearly
You
put
were
me to
out.
sleep in front of everybody.
Put you to sleep. So doing what's called progressive muscle relaxation, starting with your toes and working the way up, or working your way up through every muscle group. And then the last thing I'll say about the parasympathetic nervous system is the parasympathetic nervous system is activated by slow. When you move slowly, the body feels like it's safe, because to the body, slow movement only occurs when there's no danger. To the body, moving around really quickly communicates danger, because that's what happens when there's a lion. You move quickly. So quick movements put you into sympathetic functioning. Slow movements relax you. In fact, slow movements will make you more open-minded and suggestible. And that's why, if you remember, the old hypnotist, they would go, "You are getting sleepy. Sleep." They go slow, and you watch the rhythm. Or if you watch commercials for food, especially, you'll see the syrup go down the pancake very slowly. And you watch the syrup, and all of a sudden, you're relaxed and open-minded, and that food looks super delicious. So moving slowly or observing phenomena slowly. So they have these sushi places here in Denver. One in particular has is always playing on a big screen TV, pictures of fish swimming. And it's the most relaxing thing just to watch these fish swimming in the ocean. They have this kind of slow undulating movement, and the water's moving slow. You can just watch it. You can just fall asleep just watching it. Along the same lines, by the way, blue light from your phone activates the stress response, and red light activates the relaxation response. And this is why you don't want to be watching TV or getting on your computer or your phone if you have problems falling asleep. So these are all wonderful strategies for activating the rest and digest nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, as opposed to the stress response. You want to spend as much time parasympathetic as possible. The enteric nervous system, which is the third component, regulates propulsion. One aspect of this enteric nervous system, which we've talked about in the past, is the migrating motor complex, which propels food or pushes food through the digestive tract. Food will slow down enteric functioning, and that's one of the reasons why many people have problems at the level of the digestive system, because they're constantly eating. Chronic eating will slow down the migrating motor complex, chronic overfeeding. And that's one of the biggest problems, if not the biggest problem, that we have as a culture that's responsible for this ridiculous healthcare crisis that we're all living in around the world. If it's not 100% due to it, it's a large percentage is due to chronic overfeeding. There's toxicity, of course, in the environment, and there's the high-paced, fast-paced lifestyle. All that plays a role, but chronic overfeeding is a serious, serious problem.
Oh,
okay?
See, and you didn't think that was a big subject to talk about, but it was. Now, I've had a couple of questions fired at me. I don't know whether Karen would like to unmute and ask them herself, but she would like to know about the nightly essence. How does it work in our body?
The nightly essence is it's not really nutrition. The nightly essence, it's a unusual exception in the sense that the nightly essence is alive. Vitamins are not alive. They're chemicals, they're molecules. Fatty acids are not alive. Plant-derived minerals are not alive. And amino acids are not alive. Those are the mighty 9 essential nutrients. They're not alive. Probiotics are living, or formerly living. Sometimes they'll give you dead ones or ones in suspended animation, but they're creatures. And so when you put them in your system, They stimulate your body to make more probiotics. And they also restore your they restore your bacteria. The microbiome are the bacteria that live in your intestine. They also live in your lungs and in your eyes and on your skin, in your genitals, your female reproductive, the vaginal tract and female reproductive system. So these bacteria live everywhere. I think we talked about this last week. I don't remember if we talked about it with somebody last week. There are bacteria. We're coated with bacteria, not just on our skin, but above our skin. We're walking around in a cloud of bacteria. That's our own personal bacteria. And these bacteria make vitamins, not the ones on our skin, but the ones in our digestive system make vitamins for us. They process our foods for us. They secrete various healthy chemicals for us. And perhaps most importantly, they communicate to the intestine and to the immune system. And perhaps most importantly, these creatures, these microbiome, they're genetics. They contribute genes. They contribute proteins to help us make things. They act as a library for extra genes. So they're so immersed with us, they're essentially like they're a part of us. And every human being has their own microbiome. The microbiome is critically important. It's supposed to implant in the body when we're born. We come out of the birth canal and go down the mother's, come out of the mother's vaginal opening as the baby's coming through the birth canal. It's being coated with bacteria from the mother's birth canal, and those bacteria go into the baby's nose and mouth and through the baby's digestive tract and implant in the intestine, and then breast milk comes along and the intestine proliferates and grows, and the microbiome proliferates and grows in response to breast milk. However, many babies, maybe 30% of babies, don't get that bacterial bath because they're born cesarean section. And then many babies don't get the appropriate breast milk, or aren't breastfed long enough, or maybe not even breastfed at all. So they're compromised. Many babies, especially our age, people in their 60s and 70s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, because it wasn't known, the microbiome wasn't known in the 1960s and 1970s and 1950s. We didn't know about it. So if you're born in the 50s or 60s or 70s, or even the 1940s, if you're still around, doctors didn't know about the microbiome. So they had no problem doing cesarean sections, and they didn't bother to replace the bacteria. So many people our age are suffering from health challenges that began as soon as they were born. Within a day of being born, they start to suffer. They don't notice it sometimes. Sometimes they do. And if you ever see babies with acne, or babies with eczema, or babies who are colicky, colic comes from the word colon, who are cranky when they're not eating, they're beginning to show the signs of what's called dysbiosis, disturbances in the gut bacteria. And dysbiosis is how the first point on the triangle of disease starts off. And for many people, it starts off at birth. So using probiotic supplements is a great way to restabilize, repopulate, restore the microbiome back to its health through stimulation of the natural microbiome plus replacement, because you're actually getting billions of units of bacteria in the capsules themselves.
Wow. So you just brought another question to my mind. What about these babies who are born into cesarean?
They got big problems. They can run into problems. They should be supplementing with baby probiotics. They should be very careful with the kind of foods they're eating, and just know that they're going to be predisposed to immune problems that could show up on the skin. They could show up as autoimmune issues. They could show up as joint issues. They could show up as ear infections. And there's a lot of babies who are dealing with a lot of these health problems that are secondary to dysbiosis. These days, most doctors, not most, but a lot of doctors are pretty hip to this phenomenon. But 20 years ago, nobody knew.
Interesting.
And by the way, there's a lot of things we do that conspire to kill off those bacteria. Chlorine in the water will kill off those bacteria. Fluoride in the water will kill off those bacteria. Antibiotics in the water, and antibiotics in fish, and antibiotics in dairy, and antibiotics in beef will throw off those bacteria, not to mention antibiotics that we take intentionally will throw off those bacteria. Eating too much sugar will make bacteria proliferate. Bacteria love sugar. Eating nitrates will affect those bacteria. Nitrates are used as preservatives. So there's a lot of things that we do chronically and consistently and in an accepted way that have a net effect of creating dysfunction at the level of the bacteria in the intestine, so-called dysbiosis, which, as I say, is the first step in the digestive dysfunction that represents the first point on the triangle of disease.
The But there you go. See, and we talk about that a lot, don't we? Okay,
a lot.
we'll go to the questions in the comments, mostly because Sue, I don't know if she's been able to figure out how to get her sound to work, but she had a question on supplements for arthritis, and since being
yes, I'll tell you some supplements for arthritis, but first you got to understand. Excuse me, you got to understand that arthritis, like any other health challenge, chronic health challenge, begins at the level of the intestine. So I'm going to tell you about supplements for building cartilage and building connective tissue, and they're all important, but you still have to work on the triangle of disease, especially the digestive system and the blood sugar system. That being said, arthritis, arth means joint, itis means inflammation, and that involves inflammation of the joints, arthritis, inflammation of the joints, which is secondary to deterioration of the cartilage, which is connective tissue. Building the connective tissue is how you deal with arthritis. And the good news is when you build the connective tissue for your joints, you're going to build the connective tissue globally in the entire body. You'll build connective tissue in the fascia, which is the fibers that hold your organs in place. You'll be building the connective tissue in the blood vessels. You'll be building the connective tissue in the heart. You'll be building the connective tissue in the bones. You'll be building the connective tissue in the skin for wrinkles. So using supplements that help you with arthritis will help the entire body, including the skin, for cosmetic purposes. So obviously the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, that goes without saying. Healthy Bone and Joint Pack is specifically designed for building the connective tissue. I would throw in the collagen peptides, collagen powder. Make sure you're enjoying bone broth, or bone soup, as I like to call it, which contains natural components for building the connective tissue. And if you want to throw some other stuff in there, throw in the Fucoid Z, the CFX, and the Zinc FX, and the MSM sulfur, or the ultimate MSM they call it. Oh. Now, if you have any kind of food intolerances, as I said, you got to work on those. If you have issues with metabolic syndrome, you got to work on that as well. But as far as supplements go, specifically for connective tissue, the cartilage being connective tissue, you want to focus on the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, in addition to the extra supplements I just talked about.
Awesome. Okay, so I can't see Sue to see if that answers your question, but anyway, she was having trouble. We'll go to Michelle. Michelle has a question in the comments as well. I don't know if she can unmute. Can you unmute?
Yeah, hi, Bronie and Ben. Just on
Michelle.
Yeah, I'm trying to find her so I can bring her up. Have you got the camera on, Michelle?
I won't do that. I'm just got too much going on here at the moment.
Okay.
So with Sue, she's just saying that since she started on the nutrition, she's on the 90 nutrients and the glucogel. Hang on, I'll go back to her question. Okay, this is her words. Since I've been on them and changed my diet to mainly ketosis, I'm pooing an awful lot and farting. Is this normal, and will it subside?
Wait, I'm sorry, hang on. She's got, what did you say about ketosis?
Well, she's changed to a keto diet.
She's gone ketogenic, not ketosis. Oh, ketosis is different. Okay.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. So she went ketogenic, and now she's having gas and she's having bloating and some digestive discomfort, right?
Correct. And she's got a dry mouth since she started.
So dry mouth is one of the signs of an activated stress response.
Okay.
That's why when you're freaked out, your mouth gets dry. Do you ever notice that?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So when you're freaked out, your mouth gets dry. So having a dry mouth tells me that there's something going on with her stress nervous system. Right. Now, I'd have to know a lot more than just she's eating ketogenically, but it's possibly she's not processing her proteins. When proteins are not processed, if there's intestinal problems or stomach issues, or for that matter, pancreatic issues, the protein will rot in her intestine. They call it putrefaction.
Right.
How do you like that word? Putrefaction. How would you like to have putrefied flesh in your intestine?
Not good.
Not good, right? And obviously, everything likes protein, including bacteria. So if she's noticing that she's eating more protein and that's happening, that's a sign that she's not digesting her protein. It's an intestinal problem. It may be that she's not processing her fats either. So I need a little bit more information from this person, so we can find out what exactly she's eating. Just hearing that she's ketogenic, that's not enough information. But it It is possible for sure. It sounds to me like if she's noticing that now she's having some digestive health issues when she's gone ketogenic, I want to know specifically what she's eating, but it could be related for sure.
Okay. She can't get on the call. She can't
Okay,
hear
so
anything.
let's do a three. Ask her if
Yeah.
she wants to be on our call when we do our Young for Life.
Yep. Okay. All
Okay,
right.
good.
Will do. All right.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank
Michelle.
you. See ya.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Michelle. Now, Ben, I don't know if you can see the comments. Gracie has a few questions in the comments and she can't unmute. She can't get on live.
Okay, what's her question?
So would you like me to read it to you or would you prefer to read it
Oh,
yourself?
is this the one is this the 45-year-old male?
Well, Gracie, her first one is 10-year-old with ABI, acquired brain injury from streptococcus
Oh my God, this
infection.
is horrible. This is horrible.
Diagnosed January 23 and had surgery.
And was 70% of his brain is gone?
I don't know.
Sorry, maybe I misunderstood the mother.
Okay.
She said 70% was, what were her words? Sorry, bear with me.
I don't know what that means. 70% of his brain's gone?
Gone. Yeah,
They
look,
took out the
maybe,
brain?
yeah, look, he has, he's got the acquired brain injury from a streptococcus infection diagnosed a year and a half ago. He's had a couple of surgeries. She said they declared him terminal in March last year, and she mentioned about them putting the skull back together, but 70% brain had gone. I don't know what that means.
Well, I don't know what it means either. This is a terrible situation. This is not a healthy start pack situation.
No,
However,
okay.
however, nutrition will help him. Fats especially, but this is not a normal thing. You know, nutritional supplements are important, but when you have a situation like this, you can't supplement that away.
Yeah,
I'd have to have a lot more questions. I'd want to ask them a lot more questions before I can tell you this.
Okay. But she has put him on a lot of homeopathics and Chinese medicine herbs.
Yeah, this is
and
not
he can't swallow. She said he's doing okay, but obviously not the best.
I need to know more. I don't know. I don't really understand what's going on. 70% brain gone. I don't know how homeopathics going to help with that.
I'll get some more information.
Get
Thank
some
you,
more
Ben.
information or have them talk to me. Thank you.
Get more info. Thank you. Do you have time for other questions, Bronie and Ben?
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay. The next question is her niece, a 13-year-old girl with hip dysplasia. The doctor wants to do surgery, and she's asked me to check with you if we can do anything alternatively.
I can't tell you if they need surgery or not, but what you want to do, and this is not just for this person, but 13-year-old kids should not have these kinds of problems unless there's some kind of trauma or something congenital at birth. That tells me there's other things going on. So you got to start asking questions. The most important question, of course, is going to be involved digestion, involved intestinal health. Hip dysplasia could be a lot of things. It typically means that the hips aren't growing and aren't developing like they should. So, and I don't know the specifics on that, but if it's happening to a 13-year-old girl, that tells me there's other things going on. And typically that would be some kind of leaky gut, SIBO, malabsorption of nutrients. So with a patient like that, you want to ask what else is happening. And if they tell you, oh no, she's perfectly healthy, they're missing it. Because nobody has hip dysplasia at the age of 13 unless there's other metabolic, that is biochemical issues that are going on.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask more information. Yes. And then I've come across another person.
I'm happy, by the way, I'm happy to talk to them. If you ever have anybody and they want to talk to me, we can figure it out. We do Zoom calls or however you want to.
Oh, she would love that. I think, yes, we'll organize that. Thank you, Ben. Ta.
Okay, good.
There is another person I came across at a community group this week. He has ANCA, A-N-C-A, vasculitis. Is that something we can help?
Yes. Again, do you know this person? Do they have anything else going on?
No, I was speaking to his mother. Her son is about 35 years of age, and he's been diagnosed with that. Yeah. With
ANCA vasculitis. Okay.
Yes.
So this involves the immune system. ANCA stands for antibodies or anti-neutrophil antibodies. These are antibodies against neutrophils. And that only happens when the immune system, it's pretty rare. It's basically an autoimmune condition. And that only happens when the immune system is completely disturbed. So where do autoimmune issues begin?
Gut.
Bronie, the gut, always. Autoimmunity always needs to be backtracked to the gut. So again, this is a person that you want to start talking to about what other things are going on. And this is kind of a rule of thumb in natural healing. Where you see the problem is oftentimes not where the problem has begun. And you can't treat a problem if the problem is in a different place from where you see it. If you try to treat it where you see it, you're not going to have the benefit, you're not going to have any effects. This is where doctors work. This is why I always tease, I don't mean to be rude or anything, because I have a lot of friends who are doctors and they're all really good people, but I always tease them and say, to doctor something is to commit a fraud. When you go to the court and you say, here, judge, here's the evidence, it's doctored. Or you say to the IR, to the government, here's my tax forms, they're doctored. Is that a good thing? No, it means you committed a fraud. So this is where the word doctoring is to commit a fraud, because the doctor will give this person an immune suppressant. So it looks like nothing's happening. They're all fine because they suppress their immune system, but they don't realize that they still have the same problem that caused the immune activity in the first place. They didn't solve the problem. They just hid the problem. They doctored the problem. They didn't fix the problem. So you got to backtrack. Fortunately, it's not that complicated, because backtracking always involves the triangle of disease: the digestive system, the blood sugar system, and the adrenal thyroid axis. So it's not uncommon, or I should say it's autoimmune diseases have to be considered as digestive health issues via the mechanism of blood toxicity following leaky gut or intestinal permeability. And I would, if you want to be, let's see here. You don't have an age for this person. I imagine that, is this the person with the Sjogren's?
No, that's a different person again.
That's a different
Sorry.
Oh, I see. Oh, ANCA vasculitis. Well, the Sjogren's is also, by the way, Sjogren's is also an autoimmune disease. So the same is true about the Sjogren's. ANCA vasculitis needs to be, the doctors, they can't do anything. They'll tell you they can't do anything. They'll say there's nothing we can do.
That's what she said. Yeah, they can't do anything.
Because they're not working backwards.
Yeah.
They're looking at the fruit, not the root. If you look at a tree and it's got rotten apples on it, what am I going to do? The apples are rotten. I can't make them unrotten. But if you go to the soil, you can fix tomorrow's apples. And that's what you have to do with somebody who has an autoimmune disease. You can't fix the vasculitis. That's the rotten apple. You're not going to make the apple unrotten. You're not going to make the vasculitis non-vasculitis, but you can fix tomorrow's vasculitis by getting to the root. And that's going to be in the digestive system.
Okay, thank you.
Likewise with
Sjogren's
is also an autoimmune disease that affects the tear ducts and secretions. So people who have Sjogren's have tremendously dry eyes and dry dry throats, and just suffer from severe lack of secretions. It's very uncomfortable. This patient also has earwax buildup, which is interesting, according to what you say. And earwax buildup tells me that there's something going on inside the ear that the body's trying to protect itself from, or the body's trying to excrete using wax as a route of elimination, trying to eliminate toxins through secretions, through the waxes, because it can't do it through other secretions. So this is based on the symptoms, I don't know the patient, but based on the symptoms, there's a lot of toxicity going on in this patient's blood and body. Where does toxicity in the blood come from?
The husband believes it could be part of the 3 vaccinations she may have had, because that's when she's had all these problems.
Yeah, that probably, the latest one you're talking about?
Yeah.
And that's when it all started? That could easily be. Oh yeah, that could definitely be it. But distensions of the gut tells me there's some digestive issues.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. If you have just one quick one, Ben, sorry, this is the last one for me.
Sure.
A male friend at work, he's 45. This year he's had 4 seizures in 4 months. So he's been
going on.
something
going on. It could be something in the brain, and I can't answer that if there's a tumor or something like that, some kind of growth in the brain. If it's been 4 and he never had them before, he definitely wants that checked out. In general, seizure disorders are short circuits of electrical energy in the brain. You got 100 billion nerve cells in the brain, and they're all generating electrical energy. So we take it for granted, but the electrical energy has to flow smoothly in order for the brain to function. That's kind of miraculous that it happens. But every once in a while, when there's inflammation in the brain, and you can have leaky gut in the brain, you can have leaky brain. Things getting into the brain. There's a barrier between the blood and the brain, so things in the blood don't get into the brain. They call it the blood-brain barrier. But when you have immune problems in the blood, inflammatory substances in the blood, following blood toxicity, following leaky gut, etc., that blood-brain barrier becomes weakened and toxicity get into the brain. So it could involve leaky brain. Well, it's just like you have leaky gut, you have a leaky brain, and that's a digestive issue. So you don't want to ask this person about digestive issues. You want to see if he can associate his seizures with food issues that he has. If he eats specific foods and then he gets seizures, that can happen. And then there's also really cool nutrients that help dampen electrical energy in the brain. Taurine, for example, can help. Omega-3 fatty acids can help. The B vitamins can help. Magnesium can help. These all have a calming effect on brain energy. GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, is a supplement that can help. Glycine is an amino acid that can help. Probiotics can help because probiotics help you make GABA and also another fat called butyric acid, which has calming effects on the brain. So there's lots of strategies for calming the brain, but as long as there's toxicity getting into, and the B vitamins, I hope I mentioned the B vitamins, especially vitamin B1, which is thiamine, B12, and B3, niacin. Those are also very important for brain health. And then all those are going to work, but if you have toxicity that's getting into the bloodstream and you're dealing with this leaky brain issue, the supplements can only do so much. So you also want to go back to the digestive tract.
Okay. The nightly essence strong enough for gut probiotics, do you think?
It's the best probiotic I've seen, but you need to have the right environment for the bacteria. So you need to have fiber, for example, in the bacteria. You can't be killing off the bacteria with chlorine and with fluoride and other things. So there's other things you have to do, but as far as probiotics go, the nightly essence is the best one I know of. It's my favorite.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. Thank you, Ben. You're the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gracie. So
thank you, Bronie.
You're very welcome. So we're getting close to time. So did anyone have one last quick question?
Sure.
And if you have one.
Yeah. Okay. Are you asking me?
Doesn't look like anyone's ready to ask a question.
No worries.
Karen, did you? Aha, I knew Karen's room would have one.
Yes. Just one of my people wants to know about castor oil. Do you think it's any good?
About what?
Castor oil.
I'm not understanding. Say that again. Say it slowly.
Castor oil.
Castor oil.
Castor oil.
Castor oil.
Castor oil. Castor oil. Yes, castor oil is the most medicinal of all the vegetable oil. Castor oil. I don't know if you ever heard of Sleeping Prophet, Edgar Casey. He used to work with castor oil. Castor oil is a really medicinal oil. It is a vegetable oil. It's a little more stable than ordinary vegetable oils, but it's still a vegetable oil and it'll break down quickly. But it does have some medicinal properties. It's also good for the digestive tract for people who have chronic constipation. Babies, especially, they give castor oil suppositories and castor oil to babies who have chronic constipation. It is a bit mechanical, so if you have constipation from biochemical issues or from metabolic issues or eating the wrong food, you got to correct those problems. But for an emergency laxative, if you will, castor oil can be very functional. It has wound healing properties. It's antibacterial. It's antimicrobial. Like I say, it's the most medicinal of all the vegetable oils. Really interesting. Castor oil comes from the castor bean, and the castor bean is known for it being a source of the most powerful toxin in the world. And this is a toxin that spy agencies like the CIA and the KGB will use because it's so powerful that you can put it on the tip of an umbrella and touch somebody with it and they'll die. This is
But then why are we making it into oil for us to digest?
I'll tell you why. Here, hang on a second. The name of this substance is ricin or ricin, R-I-C-I-N, ricin. You may have heard of that. And ricin is found in castor beans, and the castor bean is used to produce this stuff. One of the main fatty acids or fatty acids in castor oil is called ricinoleic acid, which is where we get the term ricin from. And Bronie said, then why the heck are we using this stuff if it's so deadly? Well, there's a fine line between medicinal and deadly. And so the fact that the ricin is so deadly tells you how medicinal the castor bean is. Now, you're not getting purified ricin. You're getting very trace amounts probably, but you're not getting purified ricin. In order for ricin to work, it has to be purified. So you're not getting that in the castor bean. But it's just interesting that the castor bean is the source of It's the most medicinal of all the vegetable oils. We use it in skincare. It's got tremendous emulsifying property, or interesting, we'll say, not tremendous, but interesting emulsifying properties. And also, it's an effective moisturizer, and also is used for wound healing. So it has some interesting properties for sure. And then its most common uses as a laxative.
Okay. Is that all from your room there, Karen?
Yeah, yes, I think it is. Yeah, I just wanted to know if there was a good one and a bad castor oil.
What, castor oil?
So is there a good one and a bad one?
And it can oxidize, can't it?
Castor oil, well, it's a vegetable oil, but it's a little bit more stable to oxidation than, say, sunflower oil or soy oil.
Okay.
It actually has some antioxidant properties, so it's a little bit more stable to oxidation than an ordinary vegetable oil. It's still a vegetable oil. It has anti-inflammatory properties. It's been used actually in labor to help facilitate labor in the United States in hospitals. So it's an interesting medicinal oil. Its most common use, however, is let's say for constipation in babies.
Could you hear about all these castor oil packs?
It tastes awful. I don't know if you ever had it. It tastes really bad.
Yeah.
And it's not really, people don't cook with it or use it for baking or anything like that. It's pretty nasty stuff, but it's medicinal. When I was growing up, I don't know if you did this in Australia, but when I was growing up, it was almost like a caricature of a medicinal oil. Did you guys do it? People say, oh, castor oil. It's pretty nasty, but it is medicinal.
You just didn't let your mother know you had issues.
Yeah, that's right. She would bring out the castor oil.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. And thank you, Bronie. And thank you, everybody. Good to see you all.
And thank you as well. And I think that I think that's all the questions we have for today.
Yes.
Kevin, did you have something to finish with?
Just saying thank you. Another great talk there, Ben.
Thank you, Kevin. Good to see you. You can't get over your short hair, though. You're like a new person.
I'm muted.
I'm muted. Am I muted?
Hey, Bronie, do you have time for one more question?
Oh, hang on a minute. Tony, hang on. Tony was the one who actually asked about this question. Yes, Tony, go ahead, mate.
Just one quick question. I've got a young 19-year-old friend who's on a waiting list for surgery for varicose veins, which he needs the surgery for.
I'm sorry, Tony.
I did hear a little while ago.
He's cutting out. I can't quite hear everything he's saying.
Okay.
Okay.
Hang on. Let me start it. Just start again, then, Tony.
I have a young friend who has varicose veins, 19 years old.
Oh my
and
gosh.
is on standby for surgery.
Oh my gosh. That's terrible.
I've heard
varicose veins in a 19-year-old are highly unusual. Usually older folks have it because it's really a circulatory issue. The blood's not moving correctly. So for a 19-year-old to have that, that's very rare. And it tells me there's something going on. Other health issues going on. They cannot just have varicose veins. So the cause of varicose veins is blood that's not circulating like it should. So this is very simplified, but here's your heart. I don't know if you can see me. Can you see what I'm doing? Here's your heart.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, here's your heart, and then the blood pumps. It goes through the arterial system, and the arteries deliver it to all the tissues and all the cells. And then it comes back around through the veins, and then it goes back into the heart and does a big circle. That's called the circulatory system. The second half of that circle doesn't have a pump. The pumping action is for the first part, but the second half doesn't have a pump. The pumping action is gone by the time you're working with the way up. So you gotta, in order for the venous system to work, you gotta be moving, and the blood has to be flowing appropriately. If there are varicose veins, that means the blood is dropping. It's not moving up like it should. It's pooling to the bottom of your body. That's why it happens in your legs, or it'll happen in your butt, and they call that hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids are an inflamed hemorrhoidal vein. They're a varicose vein of the hemorrhoid vein. So the bottom of the body is susceptible to blood pooling when the circulatory system is not functioning as well as it should. So the question becomes why does the 19-year-old have a circulatory problem? And that tells me that the blood has got to be dirty. There's got to be toxicity in the blood. Now, if they're an IV drug user, then maybe they're injecting, and it's possible the jab could do it. but usually that means there's some severe food problems. So this is, if they're 19, it has to be dramatic. They have to know that they've got some other health issues, typically involving food, because that means once you have leaky gut, stuff gets into the blood doesn't move as well as it should, and that can cause it to pool. Also, sedentary lifestyle, people who are sitting a lot, or truck drivers, or people who don't move around, they'll also be susceptible to blood pooling towards the bottom, but a 19-year-old shouldn't have that problem. So I'm guessing there's some severe toxicity that's getting into the blood, and you got to look for that. You got to ask them, is this a friend of yours?
Yes.
It's unfortunate,
Yeah, he's a friend.
you know, it's unfortunate that in your country and in other countries where they have free medicine, that the first thing you do is you go to the doctor, and the doctor doesn't say, we're going to fix you up, we're going to take care of your circulation, and we're going to see why you have toxicity in the blood and why your circulatory system's not working. So they say, we're going to do surgery. Now, that's not going to solve the problem. That's going to hide the problem or doctor the problem, but it's not going to solve the problem. So you got to see what else is going on. Varicose veins are a secondary problem. They're not a primary problem. You got to find the primary problem, and usually that's going to be in the digestive system, although it could be it could also involve metabolism, metabolic syndrome, but I would guess there's a digestive thing going on. So ask this person, what else is going on? Did you say this is a friend or your kid or a cousin or nephew or something?
No, he's a friend. He's a
Okay,
friend
yeah,
I work with.
Yeah, ask them what else is going on. And it's a shame that they're going to go into surgery without trying to correct the problem, but that's just, that's how we do things.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So Tony, try and correct the problem with him if you can. So
Yep.
Ask him what else he has.
Getting his gut right.
And everybody on this call who's in longevity, this is not unusual. People will say, I have this problem, so I'm going to take care of this problem. Remember, where you see the problem is very rarely where the problem began, with the exception, of course, of the intestine and the digestive tract. But secondary problems cannot be solved at the level of the secondary problem. So you got to find out where the primary problem is. And that's why the triangle of disease is so important, because that is where the primary problem more often than not can be found.
So would you, just to give Tony a bit of guidance, because he's only new.
You want to ask this patient about their digestive system, about other things, but usually it's going to be the digestive system first. But you want to say, what else do you have? Now, very often people will say nothing. I just have varicose veins, nothing. That's not how the body works. But people don't remember. They don't notice. Sometimes they don't even know what another problem is. There are people who sometimes don't know what a digestive issue is. They'll say, I don't have any digestive problems. And you'll start talking to them. They go, oh, I got a little heartburn. They don't know that that's a digestive problem. Oh yeah, I bloat a little bit after I eat. They don't know that's a digestive problem. So yes, you want to ask, but if they say no, that doesn't necessarily mean no. That can mean I don't know. Where there's smoke, there's fire. If you have smoke, you have fire, period. You can't have smoke without fire. Bronie, can you have smoke without fire? You have smoke. Is there not a fire somewhere?
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
So the same way, if you have a symptom, you got a cause. There's no such thing, even though the doctors say, oh, there's no cause, it just happens. That's not how it works. Where there's smoke, there's fire. That's how you start off. It's called a first principle. If you see smoke, you got a fire. First principle. Okay.
So food diary would probably be very helpful for this young
or even just asking. If he says no, I don't have anything, then you say you want to probe a little bit. But it always helps, and this is not just for you, Tony, but it's for everybody out there. It always helps to kind of show him the mechanism. Like I just showed you. The blood circulates. If it's pooling, it's not circulating. You kind of explain to him the mechanism. So you're not just making an assertion. You notice I'm always spending time telling you about the mechanisms, because I hate when somebody just tells me this is how it is. You got to do this and you got to do that. I want to know why. And you guys deserve to know why. You guys deserve to know the mechanism, and it makes you more credible if you can show them the mechanism.
Sure.
And that's true
Thank
for
you.
all longevity distributors. Show people the mechanism. Once they understand it, they're going to be more likely to do what you ask them to do, or accept your suggestions, your recommendations. And I'm always happy to help too, if you can't figure it out. All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Don't be afraid to ask
Kevin,
questions.
Bronie, Karen, and Alfred, and whoever else is out there, Diane, Gracie, Harry.
Well, yeah, they're all there. So thank
All
you
right.
everyone for coming to Bronie's desk again today. And thank you, Pharmacist Ben, for sharing your knowledge with us. And as I ask you all here in Bronie's world, it's to stay safe, stay informed, be empowered, but do not live in fear, my friends. And when you're getting to the root cause of the issue, then you too will be powerful, beautiful, brilliant, and most definitely very brave. God bless you all. Catch you again tomorrow here in Bronie's world. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thanks.